Before we go to Russia, you need to learn a few things about Russia's culture. In Russia's history, Russia was ruled by many czars. Russia was also ruled by communism until the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Today, Russia continues to be a democracy. Russia's people are mostly of Slavic origin. Russian people have adapted to the cold. They are an ethnically diverse group of people. Many people have demanded self-rule in Russia because there are many different ethnic groups.
The State Hermitage Museum is one of the largest museums in the world. The Hermitage is most famous for its European art collection, including works by Michelangelo, Rubens, Rembrandt, Picasso, and Matisse. The State Russian Museum, rivaling the Troyekov Gallery in Moscow as the country's finest collection of Russian art, this beautifully displayed collection occupies several historic buildings, centered on the splendid neoclassical Mikhailovsky Palace.
Moscow society differs greatly from 20 years ago. Today, the hottest trend is electronic and/or techno music. Russians have a hunger for loud beats and wild parties. However, the general population may be up to date. They still like all the fancy cars that Americans drive around Hollywood Hills. Slowly but surely, Russians are climbing up to the top trends of today.
The Russian men's national ice hockey team is the national ice hockey team of Russia and are controlled by the Ice Hockey Federation of Russia. They are currently rated number 3 in the IIHF World Rankings with 3,040 points. The team has been competing internationally since 1993, and it's recognized by the IIHF as the successor to the Soviet Union Hockey Federation, and they have passed on its ranking to Russia. Today, Russia is a member of the so-called Big Six, the unofficial group of the 6 strongest men's ice hockey nations, along with Canada, the Czech Republic, Finland, Sweden, and the United States. Figure skating in Russia has a long history filled with national and world titles. In the 1950s, after the Soviet Union had developed into a political and athletic world power, figure skating boomed. In every Winter Olympics since 1964, a Soviet or Russian pair has won gold. This is one of the most famous and longest winning streaks in the history of modern sports. Originating in Greece as an organized sport more than 2,000 years ago, the current form of gymnastics evolved in Germany and the former Czechoslovakia in the early 19th century. Gymnastics burst onto this Olympic scene in 1896. This was men's only. Women had to wait until 1928. Before the breakup of the Soviet Union, Soviet gymnasts dominated both men's and women's gymnastics. From 1952 to 1992, the Soviet women's squad won almost every single team title in world championship competitions, including the Summer Olympics, the only exceptions being the 1984 Olympics, which Russia did not attend, and the 1966, 1979, and 1987 World Championships, where Russia came in second. This Soviet legacy remains the strongest in the history of artistic gymnastics, and the Russian team continues to perform strongly, medaling at every world and Olympic competition in the men's and women's discipline.
In Moscow, we're staying at the Lot Hotel for 10 days. We're going to the Polytechnic Museum, the Museum of Chocolate, the Gorky Park, the Kremlin Armory, the Moscow Zoo, the Moscow Museum of Modern Art, the Moscow Hermitage Garden, the Museum of the Great Patriotic War, and the hockey game.
In St. Petersburg, we're staying at the Nash Hotel. We're going to the State Hermitage, the State Russian Museum, and the Blood Cathedral and Catherine's Palace. In Novosibirsk, we will stay one night at the Nordkastle Hotel. We will visit the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, and then we will go see the Novosibirsk Globus Theater.
For the last day in Moscow, we saved one of the most famous cathedrals in Russia. We're going to St. Basil's Cathedral tour, and it's one of the most iconic sites in Moscow, if not in all of Russia. There are plenty of things to learn by going to Russia. For one, we can learn about and experience Russian culture up close instead of just reading it out of the textbook. We'll also have personal experiences with Russian people instead of having stereotypical ideas of them. Not only will we learn about Russia, we'll also have fun doing it.
This senior trip will cost $2,500 per person. This includes everything: your flight ticket, all your food, your hotel room, and even all of the activities we'll do.